Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Wicked Good Show. I'm your host Dylan. I'm here with my co-host, my bro, my amigo Brian. Brian, say hello to the people.
Hey everybody, how is it going?
Sorry, that was a very solemn opening.
I
I'm good.
think I think
I'm getting the tempo up. I'm good. I'm excited for today's episode.
yeah, I think after watching Ad Astra, at least I was just like, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I was pretty enamored with it and blown away that I was just kind of like in stunned silence afterwards.
Yeah, so today we're reviewing Ad Astra. We've been talking about it. It's a movie we've both been looking forward to. I'm very much looking forward to talking about it.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be good.
We'll do a quick non-spoiler review, and then obviously get into the spoilers because there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
Or stuff.
it's a long movie, so there's a lot.
Correct. But first off, we have a very DC MCU heavy news reel to get to. Starting out with where apparently Robert Downey Jr. is going to be back as Iron Man. Whether it's obviously has to be a flashback.
Right.
It's going to be a flashback for the Black Widow movie. It's a rumor. It's obviously not confirmed because we haven't seen the movie yet. But apparently, a scene or two was shown at some. I don't know if it was at TIFF. I don't know where it was shown at.
Okay.
But somebody reported that they had seen a scene that was not seen in previous movies of Black Widow and Tony Stark talking, and it was after the events of Civil War. So we both talked about this earlier in the week, but yeah, Iron Man back already.
I don't like this very much at all, personally. I guess he was technically in a flashback for Far From Home, so if they do something similar, I guess that's okay. But let him go. Let us feel the loss of Iron Man. You know?
Yeah, but that wasn't a new scene.
No,
Like that wasn't
no,
like an unseen scene. That was from Civil War.
Right. It was just like the scene and then like a quick pan to be like, oh, he was here the whole time in the background. You know.
Yeah, no, we're both on the same boat. I think this is way too soon. It's obviously it's not something I'm like upset about, but I just think, and for all we know, it's not true, and for all we know, it could be something that was cut from the movie. He could literally be in it for all of 20 seconds. Who knows? But he was killed off. It was arguably the biggest part about Endgame. It was emotional. It was perfect. His send off was perfect. Like you said, the I Am Iron Man send off was just you couldn't write it any better.
No, it was perfect, and this will undermine it if he's in like new scenes, just being, his chipper normal self. You know what I mean?
Agreed. I also I was buying into the hype that he was actually going to be the voice, like the AI voice in the glasses that he gave Peter in Far From Home. When he first got the glasses, I thought for sure, I was like, the voice that's going to be in this is going to be Tony Stark.
Right.
And I think that works. I think like his conscience of sorts works. Because Robert Downey Jr. obviously has a very recognizable voice, but I think not having his presence physically, but having his voice there would have worked. But this flashback scene, I agree, because Black Widow, given she was basically the second Avenger introduced into the MCU after the Incredible Hulk.
Right.
So I guess if you count Nick Fury as an Avenger, but she was an Iron Man too. She was one of the first ones that was introduced. She was obviously with Iron Man. Her and Iron Man have a special relationship, but I don't know. It would be cool to see, I'm sure, but it's not something I really wanted. I don't think it's really something anybody wanted this immediately. Not even a year after Endgame. So I we'll see. I mean, it was something I wanted to bring up because obviously it's unconfirmed, but it's a talking point. It is what it is, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I guess I'll have to hold judgment entirely until we see it, if it's even in there. But right now, I'm out on this idea.
I am intrigued by the Black Widow movie, though. I think.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
Florence Pugh from Midsommar, David Harbour, obviously from Stranger Things, obviously Scarlett Johansson. I think Taskmaster's the bad guy in it, which is interesting because if you play the Spider-Man video game on PS4, Taskmaster has a whole bunch of side missions that were incredibly frustrating. So it's a movie. I'll see it on a Thursday night. But yeah, the Iron Man thing. If it's a new scene, it is what it is. I hope it's not. I hope it's like a reused scene like they did in Far From Home. But I guess we'll see. And for all we know, the person reporting could be completely full of shit.
Right.
But he has all the major news outlets talking about it. So
Right.
that is what it is. To jump into some other news, we'll get out of the MCU now that we got that out of the way. Rob Pattinson.
Mm.
This is something that I actually did not know until we came on the show.
Mm.
And it's a new site called We Got This Covered, but they've actually reported a lot of other things that have been true, including something that we'll be talking about right after this. But yeah, apparently Rob Pattinson, he is going to be featured in the reboot of Justice League. So apparently WB is rebooting the Justice League again. I'm assuming with Jason Momoa as Aquaman, with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming those are the two that will definitely be in it. I don't know about. I forget the kid that played the Flash. I don't know what's going on with him because he hasn't had a movie yet. I think at one point he had a movie and it's been through like 3 different directors. So I don't know. If
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's been really screwed, honestly. Through this whole thing, having his movie be canceled a lot because he seems like a fun Flash.
I actually thought he was probably maybe the best part about Justice League. I thought he was a great Flash, but like we just haven't seen him in anything other than that, so it's really tough to compare. So that's something that's interesting. They're just completely rebooting the Justice League movies, which okay, DC.
Yeah.
I don't know what DC's doing. I'm obviously very excited for this Batman movie. We've talked about it several times. I think Rob Pattinson's gonna be awesome. I think Matt Reeves is a great pick to direct it, but the DC, I don't know, man. DC is just, it is what it is at this point. I don't understand it. It's something we're going to be talking about for the next like 15 minutes because DC, including their television station, their television streaming service, has had some big news that is going to force me to pay for it. But yeah, I don't know. DC is just going to DC, honestly. It is just like that new Birds of Prey movie just looks so fucking bad. And it's going to be like canon, I guess, too. And they have like Black Mask. Just looks like a goofball. The guy that's playing Victor Zsasz in it just looks like just so stupid.
Right.
I'm not looking forward to that movie at all. I hope that just stays completely separate from this Batman, because I really think that this Batman has a lot of potential. Maybe even more so than Ben Affleck's, because it seems like they're definitely going the more detective gritty route, which, as we've talked about, we're both here for.
Yeah, and it's like last week we were praising them for the Joker, seemingly being its own thing, and them getting back to just making good movies rather than trying to force stuff into crossovers. And then now this week it's like, oh no, they're still going to do that. Never mind. I take back a good part of what I said last week about like thinking they're going in the right direction.
One of the things I read in this story that does have me hyped up is that apparently the studio likes what they've seen so much so far that they greenlit 2 other movies to officially make the Batman movie a trilogy, which I think it was officially technically only greenlit for 1 movie. So that's good. Rob Pattinson, obviously we're sold on that, but yeah, another Justice League movie. Great.
Yeah, speaking of crossovers, Dylan, in the DC universe.
Yes, so this is probably the biggest news we're going to talk about right now, and as a fan of Smallville, it has me particularly excited. So the DC TV streaming service, which is I haven't watched any of the shows. Do not subscribe because I think DC is a complete fucking mess. I've obviously seen Arrow and Flash before, but apparently they're doing a Crisis on Infinite Earths TV event, which basically it introduces multiverses around the DCU, which I didn't know until we're having Kevin Conroy playing a live action Batman, which is very, very interesting. I'm under the assumption, because Burt Ward, who was the old Robin in like the 60s TV show, is coming back as an older Robin. I'm assuming Kevin Conroy is playing the Adam West Batman from that
makes sense. Yeah.
Now, obviously, since if they're having Burt Ward, I'm assuming maybe that's who Kevin Conroy's playing. Kevin Conroy, I guess, could also be playing maybe like the Bruce Wayne from Batman Beyond or something like that, like an older version. I have no idea. Kevin Conroy, all-time voice for sure. Another shocking thing I heard from this is that I read is that Brandon Routh is coming back as Superman, which fuck that. That is nuts.
You're not excited about that?
No, I hated that movie. I hated that movie. A lot of people hated
that movie, but I mean, I don't think he's going to be playing that Superman. I think he's going to be playing a different version of Superman, but it's just the same actor, because I don't think they have like the rights necessarily to that version of Superman / maybe people just are sick of him and don't want that ever again.
So those are the first three that are very, very interesting. Obviously, you get the people that are in the Arrow show, the Flash, the now Batwoman show, and I think whatever the other one. I forget what the other one is. I don't really care.
Mm.
And then, but now this is big, big news. Big news for me.
Is the
Smallville
other
was
one
my
Supergirl,
Superwoman, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The other huge news, well, the biggest news about this is that Tom Welling and Erica Durance are coming back as Superman and Lois Lane, obviously from Smallville, which is basically it's a top 3 show for me. It was my favorite show as a kid. I watched it religiously week by week. I bought like all the DVDs when they came out. Tom Welling, this is huge. Honestly, this is something I didn't know about till today. This is big news, and also apparently Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in that show, is rumored to be coming back for this also. To which I say that's the best Lex Luthor of all time, and there's been some bad ones, but Michael Rosenbaum was Lex Luthor. He nailed Lex Luthor. It wasn't goofy. He was dark. He was serious. He if you haven't seen Smallville, it starts out where him and Clark are friends. Smallville was just such a great alternative timeline for Superman. It was just such a perfect show. Shout out Brian Wong. I know Brian Wong likes Smallville. This is awesome. This is I will specifically subscribe to DC TV just to be able to see this crossover. So it's because it sounds like nuts. It sounds insane. The fact that they're like Kevin Conroy, Burt Ward, even fucking Brad Routh, even though I hated that Superman movie. Like it's just, and now they're getting Tom Welling back for Superman. Like, dude, count me in. Take my money.
I would imagine we're at least gonna watch if not review it on the show.
I have zero interest in like the storyline leading up to it because I haven't watched Arrow or Flash in 3 or 4 years.
Right.
But I am all in on this. What the story is irrelevant to me. Just be able to see all these people, especially Tom Welling, back on screen, is phenomenal. This is the content I'm here for. If this is the one thing DC could get right, then sure, because this is awesome.
Right. Yeah, and I think it was smart of them to include all these, peripheral players, past actors and actresses, because they need to attract people to their service, and what better way to do it than play on some nostalgia while still making like a continuation of something that's already happening on their platform.
Titans is the other one.
Titans. Oh yes, I forgot the Titans.
And then they actually have the guy who played Jorah Mormont in Game of Thrones who plays Bruce Wayne now in that show.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So a whole lot of content, a whole lot of the same heroes come together from different universes. It's awesome. That's really, really cool. That's something I was texting my dad before this. Shout out dads that we will be talking about later with Ad Astra. Some good, some not.
Right.
This is my dad's favorite show, so I know he's jazzed up, and especially if Michael Rosenbaum gets back in this, then I am all in. I really cannot wait for this.
Yeah, should be cool.
All right, Brian. So I also know to kind of finish up our news segment. I know there was a little news you wanted to get to, so I will let you take it away.
Yeah. So speaking of attracting customers to streaming services, to Netflix, who, as we know, if you've been paying attention, has been struggling lately. They're losing subscribers. They've had to increase their price. They're canceling some shows. So instead of taking the originals route, they decided to pay for the rights to stream Seinfeld exclusively. So that's going to start in 2021. So still 2 years away. That kind of would make me nervous if I was an investor in Netflix, just because we don't know what it's going to look in 2 years. Disney Plus could have killed Netflix in 2 years. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. And I think I'm going to expand upon this in a Fake Nerds update, so maybe there can be some synergy between that and this. But it's really interesting, the streaming war, obviously, that's happening right now, and how, original content isn't the only thing. The Office and Friends both are two of the most popular properties on Netflix, and those have been over for years, and those are going to revert back to NBC, and they're going to put out their own streaming things. So very interesting. Lots of different companies coming out with their own streaming services. I don't know how that's going to work necessarily. I doubt it's going to work that well.
It's bad. It's very, very bad for the consumer.
Yeah, honestly. Have you heard of CBS All Access?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
something
it's been out for
I will
years.
never pay for.
Yeah, it's been out for years. It has every episode of every CBS show ever, but it's not like a hit or anything.
You had Jordan Peele fucking reboot The Twilight
Oh,
Zone,
right,
and
yeah,
nobody watched it.
right. I watched some of it.
Nobody watched it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's. I don't think it's gonna work out for a lot of these companies, honestly, and that'll be interesting to watch. It's gonna suck for a little while, and then probably like Disney will just buy the rights to every single media property in the entire universe. But speaking of universe,
Are you are you ready to release the hounds for me to go off on this?
on streaming
On this
stuff,
this streaming and
yeah,
Seinfeld and all that.
please do.
So first off, Seinfeld's on Hulu right now. So I don't give a fuck about Seinfeld going to Netflix.
Right.
I do not care. Seinfeld's also on TBS, I think, still, like every single night. I don't know if because now it's on Hulu, it's not, but I'm pretty sure it is. So Seinfeld, which was basically like The Office before The Office in terms of just people, everybody watched it. It was always just on. It was like cable every night when they were doing reruns.
Mm-hmm.
I really could give two shits that Seinfeld's going to Netflix. I'm with you. I honestly love The Office. I think the Office has probably never been bigger than it is right now. I don't even think The Office is big back when it was live. Like it just wasn't. Now it's streaming. So if for the company's point of view, it obviously makes a lot of sense. But like because The Office is now because NBC is doing their own streaming service also, which is getting The Office, which should be taking it off of Netflix.
Yep, getting Friends.
Vast chaos. It's also taking Friends. It's doing a Saved by the Bell reboot, which is awesome, fucking great. And then they're gonna be doing like a few other like shitty TV shows. I'm sure they got Friday Night Lights back on there or whatever.
God, hopefully just the existing series. We do not need any more Friday Night Lights. I love Friday Night Lights, but it's over. Please just let it be dead.
Oh, that'll probably get rebooted too.
Oh my God.
No, I mean, you are right. I guess I don't fully buy into that Netflix has really died because I think they just had one of the greatest seasons of TV ever with Mindhunter season 2, which I swear to God we'll eventually review on this show.
Yeah.
Eventually, they have Peaky Blinders coming back out, which Peaky Blinders is probably bigger now than it's ever been. Now that the word's really out, Peaky Blinders is a good show.
Right.
They tried to get original movies out there. They have the Witcher TV show coming out. Who fucking knows when? Because they keep like they put out like a trailer, they put out some posters, that they don't even bother announcing when it's going to come out. My theory is that it will be out before 2019 is over. My guess is towards like November-ish is when we're going to get it.
That'd be exciting.
To compete with what's going to be happening with Disney Plus. Disney Plus is the conglomerate here. They're the one that has really all the properties we want. That pretty much all these other streaming services were streaming because Disney didn't have their own streaming service. We're going to be getting all the Marvel movies. We're going to be getting most of the Star Wars movies. We're going to be getting all the original TV shows they're going to be putting out. I think we're getting most of the Disney movies that were in the vault. So obviously Disney Plus is the must get. I don't care how much I like The Office. I don't care like how much I like Seinfeld. One thing I can guarantee you, I will never ever subscribe to a TV service just because they have this one show that was on 10 years ago streaming on it. That's one thing I can guarantee you. Even if it was something like Smallville, I had Hulu when Smallville was on Hulu, which is awesome. I got to rewatch it. I'm not subscribing to a TV service just for the sake because they got this property I like 10 years ago. They're trying to make it big again. Like whoever, like if you're gonna get NBC just because you need to watch The Office, like all the power to you. But you're exactly why this is happening right now. Why all this unoriginal content is being created. The movie we'll be reviewing in a little while. I guess we're making the jump between TV shows and movies right now. But you know, even with reboots, we're suckers for superhero movies, for comic book movies, for sci-fi movies like Star Wars. We're suckers for that. We're gonna go see it. But we get a movie like Ad Astra, which I will be raving about shortly, how much I loved it because it was completely original, given it had some other like movie elements to it from something like Apocalypse Now. But it was great. And then now we're sitting on Rotten Tomatoes, and Ad Astra has a 56% audience score, which is outrageous.
Oh, really? Oh my God, that's so disappointing.
And it's the same type of people. And the movie is divisive. There's going to be people that don't like it because it takes risks. I'm going to save that for the review. But it's also the same people that are watching The Office every single night, which, hands up, Parks and Rec, The Office, I was watching it once a night. But this will keep happening. Seinfeld will go to Netflix, and then in 2030, it's going to go transfer over to Hulu or whatever it will be called at that point. Then NBC will be making an Office reboot. Then they'll be getting a reboot. Like, this is, I really think that this is going to be the state Hollywood's going to be in until Hollywood's just done. Like, I really think we're in a constant tailspin of reboots and streaming services getting the most popular shows. To, unfortunately for the consumer, unfortunately for people trying to make new original content, it's going to be the biggest sufferer. Because if did you say how much Netflix was paying to get Seinfeld? Like,
So,
do we know how much
no,
it was?
there's not a number right now.
Like, did they pay like it was over like an absurd amount to be able to get Friends too? Like, it was like a gross amount. Like, it was something like
Let me double check the Seinfeld. I bet it's like $1 billion straight up.
It like that's just fucking crazy to me, dude. Because like Seinfeld's good, but it like that much, and people are gonna watch it now because it's on Netflix, which is crazy. Because it's been on Hulu for years. It's been on Hulu for so long. And even The Simpsons are on Hulu right now. Well, eventually, I think The Simpsons are going to like its own. I think The Simpsons are going to Disney Plus now, which it's gonna really pick up there too. So I don't know. The biggest victims of all this is the consumer. Although the consumer is going to be suckered into watching all these shows again, and which is great. I mean, it's great in the sense that, you know, people are talking about The Office again. The Office is a great show. They're watching it again. Something like Smallville, for people that didn't see it back when it was on, get to see it on Hulu now and experience it.
Mm-hmm.
That part of it is good. But the people that are shelling out billions of dollars, people get these shows, and it results in shows like Daredevil and something like that getting canceled. It's just bullshit, and it sucks for us because that's the original content. That's it. Like, if you want The Office, great, because that's all you're going to be getting. You want Seinfeld, super, because that's all you're going to be getting.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
It's the end of my rant.
hey, I appreciate the passion. So is there anything else you want to touch on before we get into our review of Ad Astra?
I'm good. I'm very ready to get into Ad Astra.
All right, then let's do it. Dylan, you're up.
Ad Astra, 2019, starring Brad Pitt. Sorry, my screen froze. Tommy Lee Jones, Ruth Negga, Donald Sutherland. We also have Liv Tyler in this movie. For those of you who don't know, astronaut Roy McBride takes a mission across an unforgiving solar system to uncover the truth about his missing father and the doomed expedition that now, 30 years later, threatens the universe. This was written and directed by James Gray. Brian, we saw this last night in IMAX. This is for something I can for sure recommend. This is an IMAX must.
Mm-hmm. If you can see it in IMAX, for sure.
Yeah.
See it in IMAX.
For sure. Most space movies like this, like Interstellar, Gravity, they really excel in IMAX. And I don't think that's a fault to say that this movie needs to be seen in IMAX because, one, it's shot to be in IMAX. Two, it's seeing this. I'm so glad we saw this in IMAX because it was incredible. I think that this will be the favorite for all the special effects and visual awards that are going to be coming out this award season. It was visually a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. It's a movie unlike you've ever seen before visually. It's jaw-dropping. I think it's visually a greater achievement than Interstellar. It's just in terms of special effects and visuals, it is flawless. Some of the shots that we get of him, like on Mars, on the moon, mm-hmm. it's like nothing you've seen before. It's just so well done. Mm-hmm. The Brad Pitt's, first off, the acting in this I thought was flawless. There's a big split on the internet right now of people who both hated Brad Pitt's character and loved Brad Pitt's character. I'm on the side that I love Brad Pitt's character. There's really no debate that Brad Pitt was phenomenal in it. Mm. His character is complicated. It's a character that we can get into in spoilers where he's facing a lot of conflict towards the middle of the movie. It's a movie that deals about father and son's relationship, deals with solitude, it deals with duty, and overall, it's a sci-fi movie that I really, truly wish there's more sci-fi movies like this. Mm-hmm. It's not a movie that you're going to get that's like Star Wars, where it's super fictional. This is probably, I can think of probably the most realistic sci-fi type movie out there recently, other than maybe like something like Interstellar, and even Interstellar gets a little wonky at the end. But right. I loved everything about this. I debated on the score I'm going to give it to it, but I finally settled on a 93 out of 100. Mm-hmm. This was one of my top 10 favorite movies of the year for sure. It's it's something that's not going to be for everyone. Clearly, because we have a 82% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critic, and then a 56 for the audience.
Right.
And although I've been preaching recently that I am more on the audience side, I apparently am falling more on the critic side for our past two movies.
Mm.
So yeah, man, 93 out of 100. I fucking loved it. I can't wait to see it again. This is going to be cleaning up come award season. My pal Brian, what did you think?
So I think this movie was one of the best movies I've ever seen for my sensibilities. It's exactly what I want. It's the only thing that I had an issue with was a lot of narration, which is a little bit of telling instead of showing, which is always like the cardinal sin. But even with that, there's still a ton of, world building and showing rather than telling. Like, just the universe that they're in. They never fully explain, like, okay, we have a base on the moon because this happened. It's just like it just is. We're dropped into this movie right where Brad Pitt's character is, and we follow his story, and we kind of see everything happening around him the same way he does, rather than having our hand held, which I really appreciated. That I think it's an incredibly bold movie, especially, we'll get into spoilers why I say that, but I think it took risks that other movies wouldn't, and I appreciated that. I think the best compliment I can give it personally is like when the movie started. It's like a really long movie, right? It's nearly 3 hours. When it started, I was thinking,
Ad Astra?
Yeah, isn't it almost 3 hours?
No, my friend.
No?
Only 2 hours.
Oh, it's only 2 hours. All right,
Yes.
well, regardless, right when it started,
Uh-oh.
I was like, oh man, I really need to like get some water or something. I'm super thirsty. And then it like started, and I was just completely enthralled by it, to where I never like thought about how thirsty I was for the rest of it, which I think is as high as a compliment as you can give to like a movie, when it can capture your attention and I guess play with your sense of time as it did with me. So for me, it's definitely one of these movies that I would like. I just want to keep watching it forever. I just want to like follow this world and like learn more about it forever. It's one of the more realistic space travel movies, and I think that should be commended because, it's really easy to kind of just go into the like, oh, sci-fi and science is magic territory. And for me, it felt like, yeah, there were some things that were different that, they've obviously made scientific breakthroughs in this universe that we haven't, allowing like deep space travel that isn't going to take, 50 years to get to certain planets or whatnot. But, it felt real. The emotions felt real, and the ending and everything felt earned. So for me, I'm giving this a 98 out of 100.
Oh, buddy. You
Yeah.
like this movie so much that you got on the 0 to 100 scale.
Yeah.
I like it.
I
like
love
it.
this movie. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The one thing I can certainly give this movie credit for, that I noticed right away, is that immediately when this movie starts, it tells you what the story is. It tells you the universe you're in. Given we didn't get a full background to how everything happened, but they do a great job explaining. Like, he starts out, I'm sure you've seen it in the trailers, he's on like this giant, I usually call it a space elevator, but they called it like a space antenna, or like the long antenna. It's basically this long structure that is in space that leads all the way back down to the ground. He's an astronaut. He kind of explains his life story through the narration, and which I do think that we saw that this was compared. Basically, it was the space version of Apocalypse Now, which it was 100% accurate.
Very much, yeah.
Obviously, the story takes a few different turns, but it's basically it's a guy trying to get from point A to point B, and just a bunch of random shit happens in between, and this just happens to be in space. So shout out Scott Wampler on Twitter, called it the Space Apocalypse Now, and that's like the most accurate description I feel like I can give it. And it's
Right.
like honestly the utmost compliment to it too. It's funny that you said you thought it was 3 hours. I was going to give an argument that it was 2 hours, but I thought it was paced so incredibly well that it didn't feel like 2 hours,
Right.
which is, I guess, the unpopular opinion compared to what's going on the internet right now. Because the biggest complaint is that people say that it seemed like it was dragged out, especially in the third act, which I heavily disagree. But I guess, like I said, this movie isn't going to be for everyone. For a lot of people, they said that it fell off about halfway through when he gets to a particular planet, which I also disagreed with. But yeah, this movie, it's a movie that I think that Brad Pitt will be nominated for Best Actor for this, not for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's real tough. I mean, I personally think that he's given, and it could just be recency bias, but I think that he's given his two best performances of his career within like a span of 2 months.
Yeah, is Brad Pitt the best actor in Hollywood straight up?
No, I'm probably still giving that to Christian Bale or Leo.
Okay.
Honestly, but I mean, he's up there for sure. Like 100%, he's up there. He's probably top 5, top 10 without a doubt.
Right.
I'm still probably giving Christian Bale and Leo that edge because I think Christian Bale just has the ability to transform into literally any character he wants to, and he pulls it off.
Right.
It's insane. Like the same guy that played Batman played fucking Dick Cheney.
Right.
That's just like a crazy thing to grasp. And then Leo is obviously Leo. Leo to me is my all-time favorite actor, so he gets the benefit of the doubt there. But Brad Pitt was unbelievable in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He was basically flawless there. But I just think that the character he plays in this is so complicated. I just thought he did such a great job. And there's one particular scene that I'm going to go into in spoilers, but I thought that it's going to be the scene if he wins the Oscar. It's going to be that scene. But Tommy Lee Jones too. For the very short time he was in this movie, he made every minute worth it. Like he was. It's good to see Tommy Lee Jones again. I think the last movie I saw him in was No Country for Old Men, maybe. At least that I saw was No Country for Old Men.
Oh, Captain America, First Avenger.
Oh, yep. Captain America. Yep. Good call.
Yeah.
Forgot all about that.
But that was a long time ago, dude. That was like 2011.
Yep. And then No Country for Old Men was like 2008 or 2006, I think. Yeah, this is it's as we discussed. Apparently, it's not for everyone, but I'm really glad to hear that you said that you loved it because you're saying all the same reasons I did. It was visually stunning. The story itself was I thought really well put together and well paced. The universe they put us in, I really want to just go back to this universe.
Yeah, me
honestly.
too.
Which I don't think, unfortunately, we ever will be. But
if
James Gray ever does like another space movie, I'm totally in for it because. The world building that they set up here in terms of just how everything was, like we get to the moon, there's basically like this city on the moon. There's something going on Mars. It was just I was here for it. It was the type of sci-fi that I probably appreciate the most, which is like a grounded, gritty, sort of realistic sci-fi.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. I really hope that this cleans up during the Oscars. I think for sure it'll be cleaning up visually and for special effects.
Right.
I guess we'll see how it does for acting nominations or directing nominations, but this is a achievement. This is one of the more artistically brilliant movies of this year. This Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, these are the type of movies that we just talked about with original content. With I don't know if this was a book or anything like that before. I don't really care, but. Obviously the MCU, the DCU, the Lion King, all that shit. It already has like its own grounded following. People go to see that anyway, but people really should go see this. And whether you like it or not is totally up to you. But it's a movie that deserves to be seen. If you'd see it at IMAX, see it. But it's a movie that deserves to be seen. It deserves to be judged based on like people actually seeing it.
Yeah, I was just honestly disappointed with the turnout at the theater that we were at last night. Like when we got in there, I was like, it's only that many people. I don't know if that's normal for that theater, honestly. But
so I mean, there was more people for this than there was for Aquaman because the only reason I'm hearing this because it was at the same theater, same night. So yeah, so no, I think there was a decent turnout for this, but I agree. There's not going to be there's only 5,000 reviews at IMDb right now, but we'll also see. We also saw it on Thursday night, so we'll see how it does this weekend. Yeah. It currently has a 7.3 at IMDb, has an 82 critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's officially certified fresh. and it has a 56 audience score, which I mean I heavily disagree with, but I guess it doesn't totally surprise me.
Mhm.
It's I wouldn't really call this movie a slow burn because I don't think a slow burn is accurate because I feel like it really just takes off right away.
Mhm.
I guess just like they don't try to like speed through anything, which is
No.
probably what I liked about it. Like they had a story, they told it.
Mhm.
I mean, given the total span of this movie probably takes place in about, I don't know, almost a half a year,
Mhm.
maybe in terms of like days that go by,
Right.
maybe even a little bit more. So like, I thought they did a really good job balancing that out and explaining like what was going on. There's obviously this has to be, as I said, it was only in the near future, but this is obviously an alternative type of universe where we definitely excel.
Invested in space travel
Yeah, this is
past
the
the
universe where
'60s.
somebody is president that actually gives a shit about science and technology and
Right.
space travel and doesn't want to make a goofy ass space force. Although this was pretty much space force.
There,
Like,
yeah, there was a space force.
it
He was
wasn't
part of it.
NASFOR. It was like the
Yeah.
United States Space Command.
Yeah.
They do like just back into like the world building part, like the whole thing how they explain. And I don't really think this is a spoiler, so I'll just say how there's there's pirates on the moon. There's different sections on the moon that have been basically what I assume what I gathered was it was fought for
Mhm.
basically for people to get certain sections of the moon. Like there was a
Yeah.
war.
Right. Yeah, it says it's a spoiler, but it says there's an active war zone.
Correct.
So that's
It was
interesting.
it was like a no man's land, and I just
Yeah.
thought that was it was so interesting and just worked so well. It was, and the more now that I'm like I've had about a day to let this movie sit because this time yesterday we were in the theater and it was actually pretty much just starting. But
Right.
now that we're talking about it, I love this movie even more. At first I thought about giving this like an 89, but I'm really comfortable with a 93, and you giving him 98 is just I
Yeah.
mean.
Well, I'm
I
also mad
can't
biased
argue
because
with
I really like space
No, I
exploration
mean, I'm-
movies. So I never thought I'd see one that I liked more than Interstellar, but I do like this one more than Interstellar. Not that
Dude,
Interstellar is bad in any way, of course.
I'm like, this is tough for me. I like this is because Interstellar was one of my like this is. I don't know what my all-time like favorite grounded space movie is. I think that this gives Interstellar a run for its money for sure.
Yeah, man. And honestly, I can't wait to get into spoilers. So I'm all set for that. If you are as well.
Yes, I am good. Shout out Brian Wong. I found out that he does stick around for the non-spoiler editions of this. So
Oh,
Brian,
thank you, Brian.
doing some dishes.
I'm sorry
Thanks-
that we
thanks-
agreed so heavily again.
And we gotta give a shout out to Scott also, our
Yes.
coworker Scott, who was very excited to come to the movies with the Wicked Good Show crew. And I kind of figured we would give him a shout out here because we always bust his balls that Brian Wong gets a shout out and he doesn't. So shout out Scott.
Thank you, Scott. We appreciate you listening, and it was a fun time going to see the movie. I'm
Yes.
sure first of many.
Yeah, buddy. All right, so 93 from me and 98 from you. Definitely go see it, and if you can go see it in IMAX for sure. I think you have about 2 weeks until the next movie comes out in IMAX, which I think might actually be Joker. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, that's interesting. All right.
But all right, man, let's get into spoilers. There are for sure a lot of things that we are able to discuss.
Yeah, so everything after this is going to be spoilers. So if you'd like to turn it off, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
So there's obviously some scenes that are pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah.
We'll start with the immediate one, which is probably the one that people are gonna love or hate, or it's gonna be the scene that turns them off in the movie, and that's the space monkey scene,
Oh, man. That was insane.
Which-
That was scary.
which is one of the more unexpected scenes I've ever seen in a movie. It literally came out of nowhere, and it's pretty much what gives this movie a comparison of Apocalypse Now, where if you've seen Apocalypse Now, it's about a guy who's in charge. It's in Vietnam. He's given a task of going deep into Vietnam. And I think he goes into Cambodia to go, or sorry, Cambodia or Thailand, I don't remember, to go track down a rogue general and kill him.
Yeah.
And basically, a majority of the movie, it's about a 3-hour-long movie. A majority of the movie is all the shit that he gets into in between point A and point B. And this is really a very similar structure for that because it's and then even the narration because in Apocalypse Now it's Martin Sheen narrating himself and all that. And buddy, the Apocalypse Now scene of this is obviously when he's tasked with getting on a space flight from the dark side of the moon to get to Mars. It's on a top secret mission, and then as they're out there, they discover that there's this stranded ship that is calling for a mayday signal. Brad Pitt and the captain of the ship go in there. They discover the crew is dead, and then they also discover that there is just these monkeys without helmets on. They never explain why these monkeys are able to breathe.
Well, the space system is sealed. They just had their suits on.
Because that happened several times in that movie. You're right. Now in hindsight, yes, you're correct. And he could have took his helmet off if he wanted to.
Right,
yes. Right. Yeah, just these fucking wild monkeys just killed all this crew and then killed the captain of the ship, which it was Brian. It was I didn't know. I guess I didn't know what I was expecting with that, but it was just so out of fucking left field.
Yeah. So like right before it, they're like, "Oh, this is a Swedish mission, Norwegian mission to study the effects on animals and humans." And you're like, "Okay, whatever. That's just a throwaway line. Like it doesn't matter." But it mattered. So they were experimenting on these animals, and they got out, and they killed everybody.
It was, yeah, dude. It was. I was a little surprised. This movie was only rated PG-13, which actually really surprised me. I thought this for sure was R because that was a brutal scene.
Didn't his nose like float off?
The guy gets his whole fucking face ripped off.
Yeah.
He gets his fingers all chewed off. The monkey like broke through his helmet. It was a gory scene, but I thought it was awesome. It was just so unexpected. It was just so random. It worked for me, and it's the scene that apparently is getting a lot of people that like shaking their heads like, what the fuck am I watching? I'm on the opposite end of that argument. I mean, I thought it was so random, but it was also it was great.
I think the best thing about this movie is this is one of the few movies that's like not afraid to take the stance of like, oh, humans are alone in the universe. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie like that.
I mean, so that was really like, there was two like huge twists in this movie. There was one that, you know, his dad basically killed all the people on his crew because they were like, there's nothing out here. We're going home. There's no reason for us to be out here. And then the other twist is the very ending, which is, I feel like some people could miss too, is that they confirmed that we are alone in the universe. Which was kind of like and kind of what you said. The one thing that I really give this movie credit for, and I give the director James Gray credit for, is that it took a lot of risk. It took a lot of risk to make sure that it wasn't being just another sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
And it's both the thing that really worked for us that's also really not working for other people. But he took risks. The whole thing where he didn't bite down to the cliche. And I thought for sure it was going to happen when Brad Pitt finally goes and finds his dad, and he gets to Neptune, and when they're out in space, I thought for sure there was going to be an alien, or they were going to see like sign of life or something like that. And he was going to kind of like wake his dad up. And I guess I'm so glad they didn't do that, because I think maybe it might have actually took away from it. And I was actually kind of getting nervous in my seat that was the route that they were going to take. That when they were out there fighting, and he was basically like, hey, and his dad's a huge asshole. We can get into that after this.
That's an understatement.
I really thought that they were going to go the route like, oh, here are these aliens. And I'm really, really, really glad he didn't.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that he stayed away from that. Like I said, he took the risk to just not include that at all, and like it wasn't pivotal to the story. In the end, it just adds a little more salt into the wound for Brad Pitt and his character of Roy, because obviously in the scene before that, when he finally goes 80 days across the universe by himself after basically being forced to kill a crew that he really had no intention of killing, but he was forced to be able to get on this ship to go find his dad. His dad basically tells him that he never loved him, he never gave a fuck about him or his mother, and that he never had any intention of going home. And that was like that was heartbreaking. Like, yeah, that was really tough to listen to. You know, as someone whose relationship with their dad was never really perfect.
Mm.
That was a really tough scene. It was honestly heartbreaking. I thought Brad Pitt did such a great job. And I love the part where he tells him, I never loved you. I never really wanted to return home. And Brad Pitt goes like, I know, like,
Yeah.
I know you. And it was great because, like I said, the backbone of this whole movie is it's a father and son story, and it's a story about a son, like basically trying to find his father and have his father back in his life,
Mm.
and kind of like the other like small minor twists is that his father, didn't give a fuck about him, like he never really intended to ever go back home, and I thought it was a really well done scene by Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm.
I thought it was a really great scene to write in there because they could have really took the happy route, which I really thought that they kind of made this movie a little too happy at the end. But
yeah.
they didn't take the happy route with it, where this was like this great father son reunion scene.
Mm.
It was more of like, this is the exact opposite. This is a father and son officially going apart, and it kind of also probably a testament to Brad Pitt's character too, Roy. Roy was so dedicated to his mission. I think he had every intention of coming out to get to his dad to complete his mission.
Yeah.
And it was all part of that bullshit of, and I thought this was one of the more brilliant parts about this movie too. His mental evaluation test that he took throughout the movie.
Mm.
You obviously knew when he first took it at the beginning that eventually when he kept taking it, he was eventually going to fail one. That was going to be like a big part of the movie.
Right.
And obviously it was, and it just works so well. The final act of the movie, which a lot of people were saying where the movie fell apart, I kind of heavily disagree. That whole shot of Neptune, of them out in space with Neptune, was gorgeous. The fucking scene of him propelling himself back through the asteroid field, the little rock shatter field, to get back to the ship with the door in front of him,
right.
the paneling was excellent. It was the same thing that added into IMAX. This was just such a gorgeous movie to see at IMAX, and that final act really, like, it maybe might have been like the highlight of the movie for me in terms of storytelling wise, just like everything that was thrown at you at once there, between you finding out that his dad never gave a fuck about him, finding out that his dad basically killed everybody on the board that ship, murdered them all. You found out that Brad Pitt really wasn't there just to save his dad. He was there to complete his mission to blow that fucker up. He didn't take the route too where he kills his dad. He loved his dad so much, even though he knew his dad didn't give a fuck about him, that he wasn't there to kill him. He was there to take him back, regardless if he was going to go to jail or whatever or not. He was there to take him back. And I loved it. That final act was great to me.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think also one of the interesting things about this is it's a movie about the society that's really embraced science, but there's still like an undertone of religion.
Yep.
Specifically, his father talks about, feeling like God is with him on his mission. When the captain dies, they all say a prayer before sending his body out. Kind of, similar to like people on a ship at sea, back in the day. And then the idea that like humans are the only intelligent life is a very like biblical take, So I think that's interesting. I've never seen a movie that has a balance of science and religious themes like that, where it doesn't like say outright, yeah, the religious text is true, and it leaves like everything in terms of science like on the table as well. It's very similar to real life, where it's like there's no 100% concrete answers on anything like that, But yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. What do you think about that?
Agreed. It's like kind of back to like how we talked about just how grounded this movie is that obviously religion's very much still a real part of what's going on here, and most other movies similar to this, I guess you really don't have the religion aspect because
or it's heavy-handed and clumsy.
Science trumps it because like any logical person will say that like the science trumps religion if you're logical, and I would have to agree. But yeah, his dad out in space basically saying that he was closer to God and all that, which is also why this is an alternative timeline because his dad was very clearly born in like the 40s or 50s,
right?
Which would make Brad Pitt born probably roughly any time between like the 70s and early 90s, depending on how long his dad got it on.
Right.
So I mean, you could also look at this as this Brad Pitt's character is basically the same age as us,
Mm,
that we were born in the future, which kind of added a cool element to it.
mm.
Yeah, the religion aspect for sure was there. I guess I really don't think that Brad Pitt's character himself was religious.
No, no,
Uh,
it was just more the theming in the background than actual like.
it added a very real element of realism,
Mm,
which, like I've said several times, grounded this movie, and it really worked.
mm.
Uh, the one other scene that really stuck out to me was obviously them on the moon. We see that there's basically like this moon city.
Yeah,
There's a fucking Applebee's.
yeah. Subway, Dunkin' Donuts,
There's like
just
a
so
DHQ.
ridiculous.
But it's also at the same time, it's like it's so realistic that you could like imagine it being like that.
Yeah, it's like a modern airport, but it's a
They
spaceport. It's cool.
they established that it only took like several hours to get to the moon.
Mm.
It only took, I think it was like 19 days to get to Mars, and
from
then it
the
was
moon, yeah.
79 days to get to Neptune from Mars. So they've clearly figured out some sort of light speed travel
Yeah.
in this universe, which they didn't go into, but I guess they really didn't have to. They discovered, what was it, antimatter, is
Yeah.
what they called it,
Mm.
which was what started creating all the the power surges and
Yeah.
all that. Which they also didn't fully explain how that was happening. Like, I guess they didn't. Was that his dad doing that to try to reach out to aliens?
He said that when the last few members of his crew tried to escape, it like damaged the ship in a way that
Okay.
was
Yep.
making the antimatter like cause the surges, and that those are shooting out toward Earth
Yep.
and Mars, obviously. Um, so that it wasn't intentional; it just happened.
Yep.
But he also killed those three. I'm pretty
Yep.
sure those are the three that Brad Pitt sees right at the
Yep.
beginning when he gets in there.
Two which were the girl's parents, the girl that he met on Mars.
Mm.
Yeah. So also on the movie, we find out there's like pirates, there's like warring nations on there, and then there's like this no man land territory that is basically like anybody that goes out there could be killed. You hear on the ship that they advise the travelers to the moon not to go out there
Mm.
because anything could happen, they can't be protected. And then sure enough, they get out there as we saw in the trailers, and then the pirates catch up to them and they're fighting them. The guy that Brad Pitt was talking to before, they found out he has a family, gets shot.
Mm.
We get to see some of Brad Pitt's combat experience there. We also see Donald Sutherland. Donald Sutherland's character as a whole, I don't really understand what his purpose in this movie was,
Mm-hmm.
having like an actor of that magnitude in here, because he was in here for about 20 minutes. And he basically has like a health condition. He's like, oh, I can't go on. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right. Like he could have just gave him the little chip thing at the beginning, because he knew that he had these health conditions. And I thought it was gonna be something that was gonna play out where like towards the end of the movie he like just dies. He has like a heart attack and dies or something like that.
Right.
But that scene was awesome. They finally get up to the dark side of the moon, which was visually just stunning. That was one of the first times my jaw really dropped. And they just launched like this airstrike on the pirates.
I loved the like no sound explosion. That was the best.
Agreed. And then that obviously leads us into the whole him getting on the ship with the guys that eventually find the space monkey ship.
Mm.
When we finally get to Mars, I thought the shots on Mars, this is where it got very like 2001
Mm.
Space Odyssey-esque, where the shots of him like in the hallway with the lights differing. A lot of this movie too, I would say, is a very fresh balance of Apocalypse Now, 2001, and Blade Runner, in terms of like a lot of the lights, a lot of the sounds, a lot of the shots. Like one of the shot of him in the hallway with like the red lighting going up and down that we saw in the trailer was excellent. The shots of Mars were flawless. Him like going through like that like underground little like well reservoir thing to get to the ship was incredible. Him getting up to the ship was great. But the Mars scenes, which a lot of people say that this is where the movie started slowing down for them, disagree. The Mars scenes are great, but this actually led into the scene that I was saying earlier, that I thought that this is going to be the scene that if Brad Pitt wins the Academy Award, it's going to be for this scene. And that's the scene where he's making the written statement. He's reading it out loud to his dad, and then he finally goes off script and pours his heart out.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just so well done. You can see that Brad Pitt's character was being emotional while still holding back emotion, because he's kind of like a sort of a robot at this point. Like the way that he's constructed, his heartbeat like never went above 80 BPMs or whatever they said earlier in the movie. Even in combat, when he's falling off like this fucking space tower back down to Earth, his heartbeat never rises above that.
Yeah, I think it implied he was the only one who was able to keep it together and survive that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought this is the Academy Award-winning scene if he wins. This is the scene that we'll see at the Oscars when they're playing his nomination reel. And it was very powerful to me. I'm not gonna lie and say I teared up, but it was very powerful. I really I thought to myself, like, this is Brad Pitt. This is this is one of the best actors in Hollywood, and this is the shit they do. And it was great. It really just adds into just this movie is just so fucking good, and it's going through like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. I don't think that this movie's gonna get the praise, the universal praise, I guess, that it deserves. I think that this will get the critical praise and like all the nominations and shit like that. I just don't think that as the population will agree with the rest of it.
Yeah, I do think it doesn't have like a ton of action. It doesn't have like a story that's moving a million miles per minute. So I guess that probably dissuades more, popcorn flick casual audiences from really being into it.
Yep.
But hey, I mean, I'm not gonna hate on people if they don't like it. If they don't like it, it's just not their cup of tea, and that's fine. But for me, loved it. Loved every second of it.
I guess the really only weakest part to me was the ending. I thought it was a little too happy of a happy ending, because he did end up defying orders and killing the astronauts on that ship.
Yeah, killed 3 people. It
seems like he really technically he killed 2, because the other lady smashed her face into it.
Right.
But technically killed 1. I guess he technically he didn't kill any of them.
No, their actions led to their deaths, but also his presence led to their deaths.
I guess so. Now that I'm saying it in hindsight, technically he didn't kill any of them. So that's interesting. But yeah, so he gets back to Earth. Obviously, he gets saved from the ship, and he eventually gets back with Liv Tyler, which kind of his character came full circle, where we saw him explaining at the beginning of the movie that he was married once, didn't have any kids, because they were kind of going to be victims to this job and his dedication to it. And I think he had the realization through his dad that his dad dedicated his life to his job. He didn't have a family. His dad had every reason to want to go back to Earth, and he didn't. Right. And I think Brad Pitt kind of realized that he had no reason to want to go back to Earth, but he still wanted to because he thought he had a life. And that's the final scene we get is of him and Liv Tyler together in the coffee shop. And it was a little too happy for me, but it didn't take away from the movie. It worked. Brad Pitt, same thing, just so fucking good.
Yeah, I was talking to Alex, obviously, on the way home from the movie last night, because Alex from Everything went with us as well, and he was like, yeah, that, because he's a chemistry, he's getting his PhD in chemistry, and he's like, yeah, that scene where a gas like that blew up in a contained thing, that's pretty much exactly what would happen. People would suffocate pretty much immediately. So, if nothing else, that death scene was very accurate and pretty fucked up. Not as fucked up as the captain's death, obviously.
Well, I didn't fully realize that's exactly what happened until you just told me. I thought it was because the airlock wasn't sealed. So that is.
The gas canister. I think it was nitrogen, but he said it could be a lot of different things.
No, I know the exact scene you're talking about. But the guy shot it, didn't he? Shoot it?
Yeah, he shot it, and then he's like, "You need oxygen. You need oxygen," and neither of them got oxygen before they died. And and he survived because he had his space helmet on.
Finding this out makes me love it even more.
Yeah, it's so good, and I think it'll be worth going back and seeing, because there's certainly a bunch of stuff that can.
Agreed. I think I could see myself going to see this on a Tuesday night at AMC with the A-list again.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanna touch on for this one?
No, I'm good. Ad Astra. Like I said, we'll be talking about this when we do award season. We'll be talking about this when we review our favorite movies from 2019. It was great. I'm kind of blown away, which is how good it was. And it's different from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because I guess I expected that from something like Tarantino.
Yes.
It's different from something like Egg Game because they were gonna do so much to please the audience, and you knew that was gonna happen. But with this, it was just, I'm not gonna call it a surprise. It's not like Ready or Not where I was surprised that it was a decent movie. I guess I'm just surprised of just how well it was done and just how much care James Gray put into writing it, directing it. Let me find out who the cinematographer was before we close out because they deserve a shout out also because the cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema that sounds like a made up name. Hoyt van Hoytema was the cinematographer for this movie, and he deserves some shout out too. He's also the cinematographer on Dunkirk, Interstellar, and Her. Holy shit! So he actually has a background to it. Interstellar and Her are one of the best looking movies I feel like I've seen in a while in terms of some of the shots that would go into qualify for cinematography. So shout out this fucking dude. Interstellar and Her. Holy shit! Dunkirk is beautiful too, but Interstellar and Her. Very, very beautiful movies. Yeah. This boy's up there with my guy Roger Deakins, who does like all the big bangers. I can't even name him right now, but he does like he's doing the new Dune. He did Sicario. What was I forget the big one he did a few years ago. Oh, Blade Runner 2049.
Oh yeah, that movie's incredible.
Maybe the most beautiful movie you can see in a movie theater. I'll forever fucking hate myself that I didn't go see that in IMAX. Yeah, so shout out Hoyt van Hoytenmas or whatever his name was. He deserves a lot of credit here too. But yeah, James Gray. James Gray is now climbing out there one of my favorite directors solely because of this movie. Because I just appreciate what
one to watch for sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, buddy, that's all I got.
Yeah, and I'll say for me, Brad Pitt is amazing. Going from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as a character who just oozed charisma to like the least charismatic character that ever has been written, but he still managed to make that character interesting. Just so impressive. I really like this movie. Obviously, if you listen this far, you've already seen it. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Obviously, subscribe to the channel. Help us get over 100 subscribers so we can get a custom URL. Check out other episodes of this show as well as Better Radio, the upcoming Sunnydale Review, which we finally got a logo out for that, so you can find that on Twitter. You can follow the channel on Twitter at WG Everything, on Instagram on We Could Get Everything, of course twitch.tv/We Get Everything, and YouTube, youtube.com/We Get Everything. Dylan, where can they find you?
DJ Cleverlang on Twitter with 2 B's. I do want to shout out that some of Wicked Good Show's upcoming projects, we are going to be obviously doing The Joker. We're hoping to eventually review Mindhunter as well as The Boys. As we've discussed previously, we're going to be doing a night of recap for shows like The Mandalorian.
Yes.
We've talked about Rick and Morty. We believe we're going to be doing Watchmen as well, which is going to be interesting. So definitely keep a lookout for those. I think that's going to be pretty big for us. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
And hey, buddy, any more I get to talk to you about movies and TV, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's always fun, and I hope that people enjoy listening because we have a lot of fun doing it.
Agreed.
Oh, and you can follow me on Twitter at @theFakeBMar. That's BMARR if you want. I'll mostly just be complaining about how awful the Dolphins are.
Yes.
For the foreseeable future. Because oh boy, Dylan, it's a rough one.
Fortunately, Antonio Brown's only game on the Patriots was against the Dolphins.
Oh, of course it was. Why wouldn't it have been? All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.
See you guys. Love you.